Hello guys, welcome to VFX in Unreal Engine. I'm just gonna go over a really quick example on the Unreal Engine particle system. Okay, it's actually really similar to Unity's. You can create a particle system fairly easy, and then let's call it maybe waterfall particle system. Okay. Now double click to open it. And first of all, I need a material for it. It's gonna be underneath required and then material. I'm gonna go create a new material for it, and I'm gonna position it maybe here underneath contents, create a new folder. Let's call it materials. And then I'm gonna create it here, and the name will be water splash material. Okay, now I can double click on that material to open it, and then I can actually import in one of the textures I used in Unity. Okay, and I can drag that into the material editor. And for the material, you can use any kind of material. In this case, I'm gonna use this translucent and unlit. That means it's gonna be having transparency here, and it's not going to affect by shading. The color will go into the emissive color, and then the alpha goes to opacity. Apply and save. All right, now you see it becomes half transparent. Okay. Now notice that my alpha is not clean for some reason. What I can do is multiply it by some really small value. The shortcut for creating multiply is holding down M and click on the canvas, and holding down 1 and click on the canvas to change the to create a float number, and you just connect those this way, and then you can multiply the alpha by something like 5.5 or so, just to lower down the opacity a little bit. Okay, apply and save. All right. And then when I'm happy, I should be able to see my particle system already being emitted from the particle system I just created. You can now drag it into the viewport to view it. I'm gonna rotate it negative 180 degrees, so it's going down like that. All right. So it already looks like water going down actually, but you can do a few changes on it. For example, one of the things you can do is changing its lifetime. We can change that from maybe from minimum 1 to minimum 5, and maximum can be 7, so they live a bit longer. Okay, like that. All right. Now I can go change other things like initial size. If I want them to be bigger, I can change the distribution from 25. Maybe I can make some of them bigger, like 50, so they're bigger here at the very big. Some of them are bigger here now. Okay, all right. Now I can do other things like color over lifetime. Okay, now the color of lifetime have two things. One is the color of lifetime, another one is alpha over lifetime. For example, if I want them to be fading in and fading out, I can go to the distribution, and then it's actually using a curve now. You can open that constant curve. You see that now it does have 2 points. Okay, if you want to view that that curve, what you can do is go to the curve here on at the very end of color of lifetime and click on it. That's going to show you the curve. Okay. So you see now the value, this vertex here is 0 and then 1. That means the alpha will be 1 at the very beginning of their lifetime, and then at the very end their color will be 0. Okay, but you see there's no change here. My material is, my particle is constantly visible. Okay, that's because this value needs to be actually read from the material. Okay, so you need to go right click in the material and type in particle, and particle, I think that's alpha. Let's see, particle color, Okay, that's particle color. Okay, the color will have the alpha here. Okay, you want to actually have that alpha multiplied to the alpha you applied on the alpha of the texture, and use that to control the opacity. Okay, apply that, and it will take a little while to compile. Now you see the particle will disappear gradually. Let me drag that higher. Okay, somehow you need to use that into the material to make them work. It's gonna be a little bit more complicated in this case. Okay, now the same thing here. If you wanted to have the particle to be transparent at the very beginning, then what you can do here is you can control click on the curve in the middle to add a new point and drag that up. Okay, and then for the and you can also maybe create two of them like this, and you can move the first one down. That means you're basically telling it to be transparent to start with, be solid in the middle, and then getting transparent at the very end. I can make that into a linear so it's flat. Okay, so now we have feed in and feeding out. Okay, all right, and then another thing we can do, of course, is the initial velocity. Someone can go faster, someone can go slower. Okay, that's gonna be easy to do. All we have to do is, I think it's actually having those velocity change already, and I like that, so maybe I'm not going to change that. I'm going to go for something else. For example, the acceleration here, okay, and I'm going to give them a constant acceleration. I think it's acceleration here, okay. This is adding extra acceleration on it. I'm going to do, oh, that's actually having variations. So I'm gonna go give them a fairly strong acceleration, maybe negative. I think for gravity is negative 9.8. Z direction is actually the up and down direction in Unreal Engine. Okay, I'm gonna give them different acceleration from gravity to something higher. So now they move at different pace and they accelerate in different pace too. All right, let me bring up the initial size to something bigger, like maybe 80 instead of 50. There's no right or wrong numbers in particle system. For different requirements, you always want to try different numbers. Okay, so now they're falling down like that. Another thing I can do is, of course, give them different rotation to start with. I can go for rotation and initial rotation. Okay, that way I can give them different rotation by changing what's inside of the rotation distribution here. The maximum can actually be 360. That means now they will happen. They will start at different rotation, different orientation. Okay. All right, that is that. And then the next thing I can do is, of course, make them rotate over their lifetime. Give them some rotation rate. Okay. So let me do this. Initial rotation rate, and I want them to be rotating maybe 0.2. So now they're not rotating too fast. Okay, I just want some rotation. All right. Okay, so that is that. And then the last thing, oh, another thing I didn't do is the spawn rate. Okay, so you can actually make this spawn more if you wanted to have more particles, like 60, then you will have more particles. All right. Of course, another thing you may want to have, I think that's too much, is the collision to the ground. Okay, so I'm gonna do that by enabling collision, actor collision here. Okay, now what happens here is when they collide with the ground, they never went through, they will just disappear. The reason for that is because the collision here underneath the collision, you have the collision complete to kill. Okay, so that's normally okay because you don't want them to keep going after all the collision is done. But the thing is, they only collide once underneath the max collision. That means they will only collide once. When that one collision is done, they will be killed. If you change that to 2, okay, what they will do is they will collide twice. See, they stop there a little bit, and then they keep going down, and then they died. Okay. The reason they don't bounce up is because the damping factor here, the value here means how many energies they will reserve. Okay, 0 means when they hit the ground or anything, they will lose all their momentum. Okay, so if you want to keep some momentum, you can put in maybe 0.3. For max min maybe 0.1. Okay, that way they will be able to hit the ground and bump up a little bit. Okay, and then going down and then die. All right, that way you will have the particle bumping up a little bit more. Okay. All right, and now I can actually get the particle speed. I can use the speed actually to control their visibility. If that's something you can do. I think I can try that by left time. Okay, location, size, velocity. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go try that in the material. Not quite sure about this. Okay. So here I can get particle speed. Okay, that's gonna tell me the speed of the particle. Okay. Now I'm gonna maybe clamp it to 0 to 1. Okay, that way it's normalized, and then I'm gonna multiply that to the transparency again. That means when the speed is getting really slow, I'm gonna kill them. Okay. Opacity. Okay. Apply and save. Not killing them, but they will be transparent. See, when they are getting slower, they just lose their transparency. Okay, so I think they live too long here. I'm gonna change their lifetime to something smaller. So lifetime from 5 to 7. I'm gonna go from 3 to maybe 5. That way they can disappear faster. Okay, I think they lose momentum too much up there. Change that maybe to 4 and then 2. Okay, so the collision here, I'm gonna change the max to maybe 0.5 instead, and minimum will be maybe 0.3 this time. Just want them to bump up more because I want them to be more like a real, water bumping up. So they should bump up, more than that, and they will disappear when they bump up. Okay. Right now it does feel more like splashing on the water. Okay. All right. So that's basically how particle system works in Unreal Engine. We can of course do more interesting stuff. Like there's one particle system. You can create a new particle system. It's gonna emit another particle system, and this one maybe you can change that into a very simple, little strips on it. Let me go create a new material. Let's call this splash water splat water splash. Let's see, water splash small material. Okay, so this one I'm not gonna need any texture. I'm gonna actually just use a constant color here. I'm gonna make that a bluish, a little bit bluish, maybe water like color, and then this time they're also a onlet. I'm gonna use that as emissive color, and then I don't need any opacity, just that. Okay, now I can use that one for my new particles material. Okay, I'm gonna use that. Oh, you know what? That's not good enough. I actually wanted them to be. You know what? I think I can do that. All I have to do is changing their size by velocity. Okay. So that means, oh, you know what? I can actually delete this guy, and then I can probably duplicate it. So Control D, Control W is normally what duplication is. Particle system. Oh, I saw that. Okay, emitter, duplicate emitter. Okay. You can double click to open and close them. So I'm just duplicating the one I had earlier. That way it saves me some time. So I'm gonna change the material for this guy to my new one here. Okay, I'm gonna change their acceleration to something maybe higher, like 100 to 500. Oh, negative 100 to negative 500. I'm just doing some experiment on it. Okay, so those ones are supposed to be like smaller but faster water drips. So I think I can change their size to something smaller. So instead of 80, maybe just 20 or 10 even. Okay. And then maybe I can make them uneven, so their Y. Actually, just use one constant color here. So X will be 10, while Y will be 2. Maybe Z will be only 2. Okay, don't actually change too much there though. Anyway, so here maybe, yeah, I still want them to be smaller. Maybe 2, like that. Okay, so some smaller water was bumping left and right, you know, like that. And then I can maybe change their size using their so let's see, maybe I can look for the size by speed. Yeah, it's right over there. Right click there and then size by speed. Okay, that means speed should be able to affect their size. Okay, so speed scale will be maybe 0.3. That means when they're getting faster, they're getting bigger. Okay. Alright, I think I'm gonna make them half transparent. Or actually, I think I can use the original material. That way I have like a different kind of effect on them. Okay. Oh, my original material will be, let's see, water material. Water splash material, okay. So that way I'm having the smaller splashing in it. It's harder to see now. Maybe I can make them bigger. So it's just clicking back and forth. Okay. Maybe 4, so I can actually see some of them. They're just really hard to see. Anyway, oh yeah, I can change their let's see, location here, initial location. Okay, I can make their initial location different, like start location, instead of having like all from the same origin here. I can make them bigger, like 10, 10, 10. Means their emission location will be spread out a little bit. Okay, then maybe it's too small. Let's try 100. so we can see the effect. Okay, so I think they're here now. They should be like distributing to our random places. Uniform. Okay. This part I actually not familiar with. Maybe 300. I think they are. Oh, I know why. I need to go from negative. And then I'm gonna go positive 100, positive 100. Okay, that way they're going down like that. Maybe not 100, but 50. Okay, so they're all spread out, and maybe I can then spawn more. So maybe 100. It's not even enough. Maybe 500. Okay, so I have like smaller waters, little water particles down there, just to enhance the effect of water splashing around it. Okay, so that should be everything I would do if I'm doing water, but you know, I think there are a lot of things you can do with it, but I think I just mimicked what we did in Unity earlier. So you can keep adding new particle system and make it even more complicated if you wanted to do that. The only thing I didn't really see is you know, the spawn shape. That's something I'm not quite sure how do you change that. Maybe that's the velocity, initial velocity here. Okay, because the velocity have like directions, meaning you can spread them out or keep them concentrated. So you can change that to make them all go different directions to start with. But yeah, I think that's all I can introduce in this short tutorial. I hope you can use those techniques to do something now. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. All right.